This is the front wheel of a Britax Smile 2, and today we're going to show you how to swap out the inner tube if your wheel goes flat, as you can see this one has. So the Smile 1 and the Smile 2 had this really stupid combination of an air-filled front wheel with a rather difficult system for getting out the wheel from the fork. What they have is the axle runs through and there is a cap and a locking washer, which you actually have to pry off with a screwdriver in order to get at the wheel itself, just to switch out an inner tube. So what you're going to need to do then, if you have this problem, is you're going to need to take a screwdriver and fit it here underneath that cap and use a hammer to get it in, and we're going to pry this off. So getting it under, and we're just going to start prying, and you're going to want to work your way around. You need to try not to damage the cap, at least if you want it put back the same way. Both with the cap and the locking washer, there's teeth underneath, and if these break, then you can't really use that cap system. But then you could, of course, always use a screw and a nut instead. There we go. So cap came off. All of those teeth are intact, and now we have to take off the locking washer as well. For the locking washer, I'm going to use a thinner flat-headed screwdriver, and we're going to get it in underneath. There we go. And then we're also going to start prying it up. And we'll flatten out this locking washer before we reapply it. But we're going to attempt to do this as well without breaking it so that we can use it again at the end. Go. Now, it's quite possible that the axle has rusted down inside there. I'm going to spray a little bit of WD-40 here and in where the ball bearing is before I attempt to pull out the axle. Starting to come out. There we go. There are some little plastic separators not to lose as you're pulling this out. And then if you're having a lot of trouble here, what you can do is stick something round down in here and then knock it further with a hammer. There we go. And we got the axle out. So now we've pulled out the entire wheel and we can switch out that inner tube. So in order to remove the inner tube, then you're going to want to take the cap off of the nozzle, and then you're going to want to get rid of any extra air that might still be in there even though it's punctured. So take something small and flat and push that little pin on the inside of the nozzle, and you can just squeeze the wheel until it feels good and flat. And then you're going to need something to pry off the tire. So they have little plastic tools for this, but if you don't have those, I've noticed that a spoon, the bottom end, if it's rounded, not something that has like sharp points, is quite handy. So you'll need 2 of those. And just fit them underneath the tire and pull your way around. Once you get it a little over half, you can just use your fingers pull the rest, press your nozzle through. And then you can pull out the inner tube and swap it for a fresh one. At this point, you could also swap out the tire, of course. Getting new tires in the correct size can be a little bit difficult, but if you do need to switch out the tire or the inner tube for that matter, we have another video that helps you to read tire dimensions so that you can hunt down what you need online. Going to take that fresh inner tube, we're going to start putting it in. You want the nozzle to kind of line up with the hole in the rim where it's going to protrude from. And then we're just going to feed it in. Go. Line it up, that nozzle in that hole, and you got to get it through. There we go. Then you're going to go around the sides of the rim, make sure that the inner tube is fully over the lip. And then you can start putting that tire back into place. Okay, when it's in, you need to push this in so that you can see that the tire is lined up evenly on all sides, and you want to pull this out so that at least if you have this right angled nozzle. Then we're going to pump it up. And you want to just make sure that it's all lined up correctly as you're pumping so that one side of the tire isn't further away from the rim than the rest. There we go. Now, I do recommend you either wait a little bit or dip the whole wheel into a bucket of water and just check that you haven't accidentally punctured the new inner tube in the process before you put it all back together. Just because it's so difficult to take it off of the fork in the first place. Replacing the cap on the nozzle, and then we can put it back into the fork. So what you have here are 2 washers and 4 of these plastic separators, 2 of which are skinnier than the other ones. So you need 1 washer, 1 skinny, and 1 thick separator on either side, and they're going to go with the washer in against the wheel, then the skinny one, then the thick one as they go through the fork. This might be a little bit difficult for the camera to see this as we go. So we're going to start putting that axle in, and then we're going to go the opposite way. So the thicker separator in, then the thinner separator, pushing the axle a little further, then the washer, then the wheel, and then we're going to continue the process on the other side. All right, then doing the other side, you have your washer, your thinner separator, and your thicker separator. And then you're going to push it so that it pops all the way through. Alrighty. Before putting back your locking washer, you're going to want to flatten it out with a hammer or replace it if it has broken. You can find them at hardware stores. To put the locking washer back on, you're either going to need a pipe that fits relatively close around the axle, or what I find works quite well are these little ratchet pieces. So I'm going to put this on top, the ratchet piece on top of that, and then use that to hammer it kind of evenly on all sides in. There you go. And then we're going to do the cap. So for the cap, because you don't want to dent it in, what I find works really nice is a teaspoon. Obviously one you don't mind denting. So you put that on top like that, the teaspoon, and then hammer the back of the teaspoon. There, nice and tight. So in any case, that is how you switch out the inner tube, or the tire if you need to, on the front wheel of a Britax Smile or Smile 2. They have thankfully changed the process a little bit for the Smile 3, although it's still not perfect. We hope this video was useful to you, and if it was, we ask that you subscribe, as it helps us to continue making videos in the future. Thank you.